A reading from John chapter 18, beginning at verse 33. So Pilate entered his headquarters again and called Jesus and said to him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus answered, "Do you say this of your own accord, or did others say it to you about me?" Pilate answered, "Am I a Jew? Your own nation and the chief priests have delivered you over to me. What have you done?" Jesus answered, "My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would have been fighting, that I might not be delivered over to the Jews. But my kingdom is not from the world." Then Pilate said to him, "So you are a king?" Jesus answered, "You say that I am a king. For this purpose I was born, and for this purpose I have come into the world, to bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth listens to my voice." When you study theology, it doesn't take you long to encounter lots of strange terms, strange terminology, strange phrases that litter the whole discipline. And there's one in particular which I think is relevant to the passage that we have here, and the phrase is over-realised eschatology. 2 words, over-realised eschatology. So let's take them perhaps back to front. What's eschatology? Well, eschatology is simply the study of the future, the understanding of what is to come. Now, we can see that in play in the wider society around us. Take all of the issues surrounding the debates on climate change. Well, there's different eschatologies at play there. Some will say that we are heading for catastrophe and the destruction of the planet. Well, that is an eschatological view. Others would suggest, well, no, technology will come and will save us with some device that will help carbon capture or something else. Well, that too is eschatology because it's looking to the future. Or another phrase that you hear in play a lot at the moment, are you on the right side of history? Well, that's a view that history's moving in a certain political direction. That is eschatology. In Christianity, it's all to do with heaven and hell and the future of the world to come. That's eschatology. What's over-realised eschatology? Well, again, in Christianity, there is this tension about how much of it is future and how much of it is present. Jesus talks about the kingdom of God. Is that entirely to do with heaven? Or is it entirely to do with the earth now? Is heaven the kingdom of God, or is the church kingdom of God? Is it a heavenly reality that only God can bring in, or is it something that we bring in through our own actions, food banks or something like that? What is all of this? Well, I think in this context, the teaching that we have that Jesus says to Pontius Pilate, that he speaks to Pontius Pilate, well, that's helpful in all of this because Pontius Pilate himself is the representative, as you'll be aware, of the Roman Empire, which is the most powerful body on earth. It's all soldiers and conquests and governors and taxation. It's very much a here and now kind of thing. And on the other hand, we have Jesus, who's been handed over to Pilate as the King of the Jews. So here, Pilate is trying to assess what kind of threat Jesus is to his all too earthly empire. And Jesus doesn't deny the title, but he does say, "My kingdom is not of this world," which is why, unlike the Romans, his followers wouldn't fight. He's come rather to bear witness to the truth. And this, I think, begins to answer these questions. The kingdom of God is not an entirely earthly one. It's not of this world, says Jesus. And it also doesn't grow by conquest. It grows by bearing witness to the truth, as Jesus says. And we can see this in the early days of the church, the remarkable spread of Christianity across the Roman Empire, even though it had no army and no power and was being persecuted, such that by the early 4th century, the Roman emperor himself professes Christianity. And by the end of the 4th century, the Roman Empire adopts Christianity. All this happened through the spread of the truth, not conquest, not power. But what of the good works, though? What of church schools and food banks? Well, A spiritual kingdom which is not from this world will be accompanied by those who want to do good to their neighbour. But these works, the food banks, the schools, and the many other things we can mention, they are not a result. They're not the cause of the kingdom of God, but rather they're a result of the kingdom of God. We don't build the kingdom of God by opening church schools, but rather the opening of church schools is a result of the kingdom of God. It's fruit of our Christian purpose that we seek to educate children. It's a fruit of the kingdom of God that we seek to help the poor, but it's not the cause. But nonetheless, a spiritual kingdom will still have physical results. The danger, you see, of an over-realised eschatology, to come back to that phrase again, is that we reduce the kingdom of God to simply doing good deeds. And if we do that, we end up simply with moralism. And that isn't a spiritual reality. We must beware of attempting to wrestle the kingdom from God's hands and think we can build it through our own deeds. That's to put the cart before the horse. The good deeds are the fruit of the kingdom. The fact is, though, that as God's kingdom spreads, it will bring benefits to wider society. Better than that is to try and keep the heavenward gaze, not to try and build it through good works on earth, but keep your eyes focused upon Christ, and then these things will flow automatically. What we are to do is to bear witness to the truth of Christ, as he says, because it is a heavenly and future kingdom, since it has to do with God and the spreading of his gospel. Yet it's also present and earthly, since those who follow Christ will inevitably seek to serve their neighbour. In the end, to be in the kingdom of God is to be somebody who acknowledges the truth of Christ. That's the point of all of this. To be part of God's kingdom is to be one who follows the King who is Christ. And as we do that, well, then everything else will flow.